Politics, sponsored by the Dallas Examiner. I'm Christy Thomas, a coordinator for tonight's event. Tonight, I want to give the candidates and the audience a few housekeeping guidelines to ensure that the forum moves smoothly so we can provide a space that is safe and conducive to learn about each candidate and their platform. I will start with candidates. Candidates, you will have 2 minutes for your opening statement, 1 minute to answer any questions from the audience or from the moderator, and 2 minutes for your closing statement. Our guest timekeeper tonight is Mr. Anthony Marshall. He will provide a placard to inform you of the time you have left to answer questions given. Candidates, this time should be spent talking about how you will implement your plans and goals for the seat if you are elected. Your time should not be spent talking about your opponent and their shortfalls or issues. Please remain respectful throughout the forum and respect the space that has been donated to us for the purpose of educating our community on political candidates. Now to the audience. We are so thankful for your presence tonight. We ask that you formulate your question where it pertains to all candidates. Please do not come to the podium and ask any questions that are personal in matter. If you have a pending litigation, you can't ask any questions about that. You will be allowed 1 minute to ask your question, and only one question can be asked to allow time for others in the audience to ask questions. Again, please be respectful to prevent any interruption that could cause us to run out of time and not hear from each candidate listed to speak tonight. Any member of the audience can line up to my right and you will be provided with a microphone so that everyone will hear your question being asked to the candidate. I want to thank you in advance for your cooperation and for your interest in being more informed about candidates running for office in your community. The Dallas Examiner has been presenting Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidate for over 18 years prior to major elections. I want to stress that all candidates are invited through email invitation. These candidates are pulled from the official ballot provided by the state of Texas. The Dallas Examiner does not endorse candidates. We could not do this alone. Our sponsors are nonprofit organizations, too many to name, all the Black sororities and fraternities, the NAACP chapter, the Links, and the African American Museum. Now to our moderator. Our moderator tonight is Eric Wilson. He is no stranger to our political climate. His career in politics started when he was elected to the Dallas City Council in 2015, where he represented District 8. His tenure on the council included serving as Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. Wilson's educational background includes a bachelor's degree in finance from the University of Texas at Arlington and an MBA from Amberton University. He remains committed to working and preserving the diverse landscape in the community of District 8 and addressing economic disparities within the community where he still resides. Please help me welcome our moderator to Monday Night Politics. Lastly, please silence your phones. Video recording and taking pictures are not allowed for this event. On behalf of Molly Bell and the Dallas Examiner, we would like to thank you again for attending Monday Night Politics Meet the Candidate. Thank you.
Good evening. All right. Before we get started, just to reiterate a couple things. First, I want to say thank you for being here tonight. We know that you could have been anywhere. We appreciate you coming out and to hear the candidates and learn more about their campaign. Candidates, first, when you come up, you could stand right about here, okay? Maybe here, do the lighting. And when you answer the question, address the audience. Wow, I know you may be tempted if I ask your question to answer it to me, but it's much more delightful for the camera to see you and the audience to see you as well. Okay, candidates, this is a time to talk about your campaign. Your campaign. Really, we're not here to learn whether a person doesn't, we don't want to hear about your opponent either liking cornflakes or frosted flakes. That's not what we're here for. We're here to learn about your campaign. So talk to us about your campaign. In the event that you begin to make comments, sly comments, slick comments about your opponent, I will say, tell us about your campaign. Okay? All right. Now, audience, just remember, some of you all may be with a particular candidate and you want to ask questions that pertain to make your candidate look good. That's great. That's wonderful. We ask that when you ask your question that it pertains to both candidates, and do not give us the 1776 theory as to why and how this question came to be and leading up to 2026. Ask the question. If you are long-winded in your introduction of asking, you give us a prelude, you give us a pre-sequel, and you are still trying to get to your question, I will ask you, what is your question? Okay? So, with that, again, no photography, no videoing, no pictures. Again, I think you all are a pretty good crowd. We did have somebody act up a couple weeks ago. You know, by the time the forum was over, it was already circulating. So you will be able to see tonight's forum tomorrow by visiting DallasExaminer.com. All right, I think that is it. And all hearts and minds are clear? All right, one more thing for the judges, for the quick race we have with judges. Again, if you do have a case or something pending, do not ask a question. You will forfeit your question and the candidate's time to answer your question. All right, let's get started.
Last name candidates, when you finish talking, please give the mic back to me. Thank you so much.
All right, so tonight, our first set of candidates, County Court at Law, number 1. We have Demetria Benson and Aaron Noel. Ms. Benson will be first. All right. Again, we do invite both candidates and those that show up will grace you with their presence and tell you about their campaign. So with that, we will get started with your 2-minute opening, and I got all these questions I got to ask you, so you get them all. It will come quick. No, just kidding. We'll start with your 2-minute opening.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I just want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. Let's see.
Can you hear me better now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I really want to thank everyone for coming out tonight. This is a very important event because we're trying really hard to make sure that the people in the community are educated about these judicial races. My name is Erin Nowell. I'm actually a former justice from the Court of Appeals, and it's that work, along with my 20 years as a practicing attorney, that has brought me to this race in this state right now. Being on the Court of Appeals, what your job is to look at all of the trial courts and make sure that they're applying the law correctly. But one of the things that people really don't realize about the appeals court is that the reversal rate is very small. 10 to 25% of the cases get reversed. So what that really means is when people are seeking justice, where they're going to get it is in their trial courts. And that's why I am running for County Court at Law number 1, because I think that the people deserve that kind of justice. So in running for this race, what I am committed to is making sure that there is a consistent judicial presence in this court. And by presence, I mean a couple of things. I mean being there every day, doing the work, putting in your time. I mean being prepared so that when people are walking into these courtrooms, they know that the judge has read what's before them, has looked at their case, knows what's going on. And third, and most importantly, for a timely and considerate and well-reasoned ruling. When people come to these courts, their lives are on hold. And anything that the court does to hold that back is problematic. Our courts need to make sure that the cases are moving, that people get strong, reasoned, quick opinions, and they can move on with their life. And that's what I pledge to do on County Court at Law number 1. Thank you.
Get the court, you don't have to pass it off, so. All right. County Courts of Law handle a wide range of civil and criminal matters. If you would describe the types of cases that are heard in this court, and what aspects of this court work do you think voters least understand?
Okay, first and foremost, I actually want to be clear, this court does not hear criminal cases. There's county criminal court at law number 1, which you'll hear from tonight. But this is a county court at law. And the kind of cases it hears is everything that a district court would hear. So let's talk about those. We're talking about your standard car wreck case. We're talking about your business disputes. We're talking about property disputes. Anything that a standard civil district court would hear for money damage. That also means wrongful death cases, medical malpractice cases. So very important cases that touch the individuals in our community that have to deal with what we call money damages. One of the things that this court does that's a little different is the county courts at law are the appeals court for our JP court. So one of the things they do hear a lot of are the eviction appeals. And so in that instance, the Court of Appeal is an appellate court like what I served on for the 6 years.
All right. County courts of law handle civil cases involving amounts between $200,000 to $250,000. These might include contract disputes, property damages claims, or debt collector cases. When both parties believe they're right, and the facts are disputed, how do you evaluate credibility and determine who's telling the truth and what makes the witness credible to you?
So I'm going to answer that 2 ways. The first way I'm going to answer that is if there is a jury in the box, that's not my job. My job is to make sure that the evidence is put on, that it's clear, that everything that should get to the jury gets to the jury. If I am the one making that determination, then what I'm going to do is make sure that each party gets heard. And the reason I'm focusing on that is because we often have people in this court that are appearing pro se, oftentimes because with no choice, because they can't afford it. So I think it's so important for when we have people in the court to understand what's going on in the courtroom, to understand what questions are being asked of them, and how the court's reasoning applies to what's going on. Because I believe even if win, lose, or draw, if you feel like that you've been heard, if you feel like you've gotten a fair shake in the court, that you've gotten to say your piece, then you're going to feel better about the judiciary. You're going to feel more comfortable in that judicial setting.
Tell us about a specific professional situation where you had to make a difficult decision that affected someone's life, property, or rights. This could be from your legal practice, business, or your professional experience. Walk us through what made it difficult, how you analyzed the competing interests, and what you ultimately decided.
That's an interesting one. What first popped to mind is actually a criminal case. But when I was first on the Court of Appeals, and this is honestly what makes it really difficult in applying the law strictly. On the Court of Appeals, you look at a flat record. So there's no new witnesses, there's nothing like that. And we had a case, it was a criminal case, where an individual was pulled over in one of our right-leaning counties, let me just say that, was pulled over, and unfortunately a large amount of drugs was found on this individual. The issue before the court was it a reasonable stop? And the law stated that if the officer believed that they had violated the law, it was a reasonable belief, then they could commence the stop. This individual pulled over the line at the stop line slightly, and that's what precipitated the stop, which then, however, they did find. Do you want me to stop?
You can finish up.
Okay. Basically, it was a very difficult decision. I will be honest, I felt like he was pulled over for driving while black. Unfortunately, that's what the law was, that there was a reasonable expectation, and so we had to enforce that law. I hated doing that. It was painful, but it showed me how we've got to apply the law fairly to every person, and that's what I had to do.
All right, now it's time for questions from the audience. If you have a question, please step up to my right and ask your question. If elected, what would be your first specific priority in your first 100 days on the bench? Give us a concrete action that you would take to improve this court, how it serves Dallas County.
So one of the concerns that I've heard from the community is the movement of these cases. And I think that oftentimes this happens in the very beginning of a case. So we're looking at, generally speaking, when someone files a lawsuit, these courts are set to have what they call a dismissal docket, because after so many days, you want to make sure that people are taking the effort to serve the other side and get everyone involved in the lawsuit that's supposed to be. But oftentimes there's court intervention necessary to make that move forward. Things like substituted service, meaning, hey, this person's dodging service, I need to figure out how to do that. So one of the main things I'm going to do in the first day is really do a review of the docket to see how many cases we have that are just languishing, waiting for court attention. And that could be in the beginning of the case, that could be discovery disputes, that could be rulings that just have not happened. My goal is to get in there and make sure these cases are moving forward so people can move forward with their lives.
Okay. Every court has its inefficiencies or inequities that frustrate judges, lawyers, and litigants. What's one thing about this court, how it currently operates, that you think is broken or could work much better, and how would you resolve it?
Actually, I'm going to go back to the same thing. There's an issue with this court in movement. There's an issue with the court in presence. People don't feel like they're being heard in this court. People don't feel like the person that they elected are there hearing the cases. And people don't feel like they're getting the rulings in a timely manner. Again, having been on the Court of Appeals, one of the things that lawyers have to do is often file suit with the Court of Appeals just to get a ruling to occur. That has happened in this court, and that should not be happening. What that does is, number one, the process is already slowed because the judge isn't ruling. But what that does is they've got to go through the process with the appellate courts. That's time and money that litigants should not be having to spend just to get their cases moving forward. So that is one of the things, again, that I am so focused on, making sure that I am making timely and well-reasoned rulings. These are rulings that should not be subject to appeal on the Court of Appeals, because I know what the reasoning is that we need to have to make sure it's not an appealable issue. So that is my goal.
All right. Well, with that, as I like to say, time flies when you're having fun, and we'll let you off the hot seat. So we'll give you your 2-minute closing.
Again, what I am here to do, the reason that I ran for this court is because I think that the standard that we should set for county court at law in Dallas County has not been met. I think that we've got to make sure these courts, especially the county courts at law, because oftentimes these are the courts that our citizens are in. We need to make sure that we've got judges on these benches who are focused on being present, being there on that bench, working hard every day. Judges who are prepared. When you go into that court, you need to know that the judge has looked at your case. That this is not something they looked at 5 minutes ago. That they know what's going on in your case. That they're prepared to hear the arguments or the motion, or even just the one issue that's come before you. You need to know that the judge is there, engaged, looking to hear your answers, and being willing to explain to you what's going on in the process. Number two, I want to make sure that we have got rulings coming out of this court quickly, timely, well-reasoned. I know that I keep going back to that, but it's so important for these cases to get resolution that there are rulings happening, that they're not being held up because the judge hasn't ruled on a motion. When you're dealing with, even settlements in these cases can be held up if the judge isn't appointing a guardian ad litem or putting someone in there to help move the case forward. It's not a numbers game to me. It is a personal game to me. Because again, when you come into this court, your life is on hold, and my job is to help move things forward and hopefully do the best I can to make sure that every person in that court feels like they've been heard and they've got some form of justice in being in that court. So I hope that you will take a look at my background. You can check my website, www.nowforjustice.com, and I really hope that you will support me, and I will be your next judge of County Court at Law number 1. Thank you so much.
And moving right along. Court number 1, we have Tiffany Baker and Marilyn May. Mayor, Tiffany first. Got another solo act. All right. So if you would, give us your 2-minute opening.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Tiffany Baker, and I'm running for judge of County Criminal Court Number 1. A little bit about me. I have 16 years of criminal law experience. I've been a prosecutor, a defense attorney, and an associate judge for the city of Dallas. I am here because my family knows firsthand how this system can ruin a life, and I wanted to be an attorney and later a judge to make sure that that didn't happen to anyone else's family. And so I decided that I was going to get into this criminal justice system, and I was going to fight for the rights of other people to make sure that we weren't creating criminals and we were helping people who may have underlying issues so that they won't be in and out of the system. So again, my name is Tiffany Baker, and I'm running for judge in County Criminal Court Number 1.
All right. First question. Oh, you're fine. Stay right there. You'll see many defendants with no prior criminal history who made a mistake. Some judges believe in first-time offenders deserve leniency. Others believe the law should apply equally regardless of criminal history. What's your philosophy on handling first-time offenders, and what factors would you consider?
So I don't believe that it's leniency. I believe that no two cases are the same. So you don't look at every person the same either, because you may have someone who has extensive criminal history and someone that doesn't, and you don't treat those two people the same. As I said before, I believe when I first got into this system that the system itself helped create criminals. And if we can address issues that people have, underlying issues, traumas, whatever the case may be, that we can keep them from coming into the system. And so if you have someone, especially on low-level offenses, who does not have a criminal record, giving them an opportunity to not have a record benefits the entire community because we're not creating a criminal.
Right. Sort of along that same vein, you'll encounter repeat offenders whose behavior hasn't changed despite previous convictions. How do you balance giving someone another chance with protecting the community from someone who has demonstrated a pattern of unlawful behavior?
I'm going to give you guys a real quick example. So DWIs are cases that get enhanced. I had a client who had a DWI first, a DWI second, and I told her that if she didn't get help, she was going to be in felony court. And lo and behold, she did. When we got into the felony court, I talked to both the judge and the prosecutor because I myself could not get her to do what she needed to do, which is talk to a therapist. She was not an alcoholic. She drank because of something that happened and a loved one that was killed in front of her. That judge made her see a therapist, and today, that was 3 years ago, she has not come back into the system. That is what I mean by addressing people's underlying issues and trauma so that they do not come back into the system. And I'm very collaborative, and I like to come up with creative ways to make sure that we're addressing people's issues so that they don't come back into the system.
All right. County criminal court judges work closely with prosecutors. How do you maintain independence and ensure that you're a neutral decision maker rather than simply accepting the prosecutor's recommendations? Give us a specific example of when a judge should push back against the prosecutor.
Okay, so the role of a judge is not to advocate for the defense or advocate for the state. The judge's role is to make sure that the people are before the court, their rights are protected, their constitutional rights are protected, and that no side is doing anything that is going to hinder or delay those people's rights, their rights when they come before the court. So often, in the misdemeanor court, you have, as a judge, a chance to kind of mold and shape the attorneys that come before the court. So if I see someone that comes in and they've offered something on similar cases, I would push back on that because I'm trying to figure out why you gave one person this and another person that, but they were similarly situated. So that's just an example of where I would push back on the state.
All right. All right. Now the audience has had a chance to warm up. Is there an opportunity to ask a question? You would step forward. To my right.
Hello. Would you share with the audience your community involvement or organizations that you are affiliated with or have done volunteer work with or collaborated with?
So am a member of quite a few clubs. Was a board member of the Dallas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association for many years, where I put on CLEs for defense attorneys. I'm also a member of the Lions Club that does community service, different community service activities. I've also helped with the non-disclosure and expungement clinics that we've had every year. I wish I could tell you more. There's just so many organizations that I've been a part of in the community to try and help people, especially that have records that need to be cleared. That is near and dear to my heart, actually, because when people have records, it makes it hard to get things like loans, jobs, housing, those types of things. So helping to clear up their records so that that is not a hindrance to them has been something that I've tried to do consistently every year.
What can we expect from you in regards to docket management?
Okay, so as far as docket management goes, at the very base level, the one thing that a judge can do is to be at work every day. It starts there. The longer that a judge is willing to work, the less that a person's rights get violated, because you're not trying to quickly do something. You have time, you can take a step back, there's a lot of things that you can do the longer that you're willing to work. So, as far as case management goes, I will be there every day. I need to take a look at this court's docket because there is a backlog there. I need to make sure that I look at which cases need to be tried, which cases we can be moved, and which cases we can just outright just dismiss.
Good evening. What are some improvements that you want to bring to this court if you are elected?
One, I want to bring consistency in showing up. So I know that there have been concerns from the community about certain judges not being at work. I want to make sure that I ensure to the community that in this court, you will have a judge that is going to be on the bench every day, that is going to be there to hear the cases, to one, make timely rulings so that rulings are not taking 3 to 4 months. That should never happen in a misdemeanor court, that the trials are being scheduled and that they're actually being done and not being continued for forever and ever, that the jail cases are being heard. And if there are more than 6 jail cases at a time that are being heard, that's also very unreasonable for a misdemeanor court. So those are some of the things that I would like to do differently.
All right, let's see the final question. Many defendants cannot afford lawyers and rely on court-appointed attorneys. What role does a judge play in ensuring the quality of an indigent defense? How would you know if a court-appointed lawyer is providing inadequate representation?
Okay, so in Dallas County, we're actually very fortunate that we have a robust indigent defense department, so to speak. We've got some great defense attorneys, and unfortunately, we have some that are not so great, but that is the nature of the will. One of the things that a judge is able to do is they can remove someone and replace them. I have been an attorney that has replaced court-appointed attorneys because I've made myself available on the will. So as a judge, if you have a defendant that comes in, and they come in and they tell the judge, hey, I'm having issues getting in contact with this lawyer, and a judge will look to see how often that case has been reset with nothing on there, no resolution, no pleas set, anything like that. And that is one example of where a court-appointed attorney can be taken off and another one can be replaced that a judge can do.
Okay, well, it's time to land the plane and give us your 2-minute closing.
Again, my name is Tiffany Baker, and I'm running for judge of County Criminal Court number 1. My name is spelled very uniquely. It is Tifanee. So if you go to my website, it is Tiffany, Tifanee, Baker, FOR, judge.com, where you can read more about myself, my campaign. And I just want to tell you guys that it is very, very important that we pay attention to the people that we elect to these courts. We are dealing with human beings, and the decisions that judges make have lasting impacts on these people's lives for decades after that decision is made. And I, for one, am ready to have judges that remember that we have people from our community who come into these courts, and we are the ones that get hurt the most. And when things happen to us and it's being done by us, it hurts even harder. And so I'm here because I'm tired of that. And I want to be a judge that makes the right decisions, a judge that is fair for everybody, and one that's not doing harm to our community. So again, my name is Tiffany Baker, and I'm running for judge of County Criminal Court number 1. Thank you so much for having me.
Our next set of candidates will be for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, Place 2. Sasha Moreno, and Daria Jacobs. Alright. Thank you for showing up. Ms. Ron, we'll begin with you. Your 2 minute open.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Judge Sasha Moreno. I'm your Dallas County Justice of the Peace for Precinct 4, Place 2. I've been the JP in this area since January of 2019. Precinct 4 covers Carrollton, Capel, Irving, Grand Prairie, Cedar Hill, and a small part of DeSoto now. I would love your support to get your support for my 3rd term. A little bit about me: I graduated from the University of North Texas, and then went to law school in California. I'm licensed in both California and Texas as an attorney. I came back 10 years ago because I wanted to come back to my home state and make a difference. And so, since being a JP, I feel like I've been fair, I've been efficient, and I've also fulfilled my campaign promises. One of the biggest campaign promises I ran on the first time was to open a night court. I'm the only JP that has a night court. We're open the first Tuesday of every month until 7 p.m. because I understand that the People's Court needs to be open for the people, and not everyone can take time off work to get to court on time. So we're open once a month. If you need to come file something, pay tickets and all that, we are accessible to you. I also started the first internship at the court, which I think is great for the students. I've now had 3 students that have gone on to law school, and I'm very proud that their experience really made a difference in their lives. I'm also one of the only 2 JP courts out of the 10 that has truancy, and we've partnered with Irving ISD. Most JPs, or actually most school districts, go with the truancy court by itself. But Irving ISD approached me and said, we want to partner with you. We've partnered with Bear Creek Community Church, with Irving Police Athletic League. I meet with students one-on-one. I really feel like I've made a difference in those students' lives because I've talked to them, figure out what the root of the problem is, and to me that makes all the difference in the world. So I would love your support for a 3rd term. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Daria Jacobs. I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, Place 2. As mentioned, it covers Cedar Hill, Capel, Carrollton, Irving, parts of DeSoto, and Grand Prairie. I'm a country gal that grew up in Kilgore, Texas. I served my undergrad in Jackson, Tennessee, where I received my degree in mass communication, where I pledged the best sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated plug, and eventually moved back here to Dallas, where I worked in education, and then also in media. Some of you probably heard me on Having ID7 KHBN, eventually went syndicated with Philly's Favor. In between working in education as a teacher to an administrator, communication director, I ultimately received my doctoral degree. I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I am a first lady of a church. I have a heart for our community. I have a heart to bring back informing our community instead of mumbling and complaining, but to bring back knowledge of the updates of what's going on within our courtroom. Justice of the Peace is the People's Court, and I plan to not only serve as far as bringing back awareness with evictions, truancy, for working in there. Evictions, I've been on both sides, from almost being evicted to being the landlord, so knowing the both, having the experience, dealing with mental health, dealing with church members who have mental health issues. And so I'm asking that you look into me, Daria Jacobs, as I'm running for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, Place 2.
All right. You have a first question? Small claims courts is where regular people resolve disputes without lawyers, property damages, unpaid bills, consumer complaints. Many people have never been to court before and find the process intimidating. How will you make small claims court accessible and understandable while maintaining the appropriate legal procedure?
This is the people's court, and if this is your first time coming to court, you're really nervous, especially if you're representing yourself. So it is my job to serve as not only fairness, but show compassion, to letting both parties know, understanding their rights. Of course, I can't give you legal advice, but showing and helping both parties understand their rights in the courtroom. Also, not only doing that, providing even outside of my courtroom resources, and getting the community engaged where they know this is a safe place. You don't have to come here being scared, but allowing you to be heard, and that you won't leave my courtroom dismissed. You won't leave my courtroom feeling like, okay, what just happened, but you understanding the case that is taking place.
So currently for our small claims court cases, I know it can be very daunting for pro se litigants, and one of the ways that I think is best for pro se litigants to have some assistance during this process is through alternative dispute resolution. And I'm a big proponent of alternative dispute resolution, and that specifically would be mediation. And so mediation, if you don't know, is where you have a mediator who typically is a retired judge, an attorney, or a mediator from the state of Texas who is there to help resolve that. And if you're a Dallas County litigant, we have a free service for free mediation, and it can be 2 to 3 hours. And I always send my small claims cases, especially if they're pro se litigants, to mediation, because that is when they can get into a room, have a mediator who has that legal knowledge to assist them. Again, it's free, it's outside of the courtroom, and potentially they can resolve it and settle the case, and if not, they're still going to have their day in court with me. But I find that has been a great solution to help pro se litigants in getting their cases resolved.
Thank you. Next question. Many debt collectors' cases come through JP courts, medical bills, credit cards, auto loans. Collection companies typically have lawyers, defendants often don't. Some debts are legitimate, others involve errors or predatory practices. How do you ensure fairness when the parties have unequal resources and legal knowledge?
So I do also mediation for debt claim cases, but that one's also a little different in that I sometimes will ask the attorney for the plaintiff and the defendant. I have a small conference room in the back. Do you want to talk about it to know what the debt is? I am pretty strict. I used to do foreclosure defense when I first got out of law school. I graduated when we were in the recession. So I'm making sure, do we have the right creditor? Is this the right plaintiff? I'm looking at all those things to determine whether they're even entitled to a judgment or not. But I do find that letting them either talk outside while we're at a pretrial, referring them to mediation. Also, for every type of case we have pro se self-representation handbooks. So debt claims, you have a debt claim plaintiff, debt claim defendant, and each handbook, we have little business cards with a QR code. You can pull it up or we can print a copy, and it goes over the process. And so if they have any questions, they can get, okay, you're a debt claim defendant, here's your handbook, you can review it. Since I can't give you legal advice, you have that as a resource.
Dealing with different cases is very important that we move cases efficiency. However, fairness is very critical in JP court. And so it is very important that I make sure that both parties understands their rights and understand they're clearly knowing what are the steps that are being taken part of. My opponent also mentioned about mediation. Mediation is another option that I will also provide in my courtroom to better move quickly the case to move quickly along. Thank you.
JP courts handle evictions, small claims, we talked about up to $20,000, Class C misdemeanors, and other matters. Explain what types of cases this court handles and why this position matters to people in southwestern Dallas County, and what will you do to adjust your court to serve the specific demographics of this court?
So, Justice of the Peace, we deal with evictions, we deal with small claims, we deal with mental health warrants, we deal with truancy. Everybody think mainly JP is done, dun, 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 marrying ceremonies. We deal with, did I say truancy? Truancy. And so it's very important that we keep our community informed of the updates of what's going on in this courtroom, especially with the new laws passing of SB 38. And so we want to, even with evictions, keeping you updated. What are those new laws? If you're a tenant, you need to know your rights. If you're dealing with truancy, partnering up with different schools and organizations to help our youth. Also dealing with small claims. Some people may not know the process of dealing with, so having different seminars to inform our community and bridging that gap so they won't be as clueless when they're coming into the courtroom. As mentioned before, providing resources outside of my courtroom, not dismissing cases, being accessible.
Thank you. JP courts handle eviction, small claims up to $20,000, Class C misdemeanors, and other matters. Explain what types of cases this court handles and why this position matters to people in southwestern Dallas, and how you adjust your court to meet the demographics of this court.
Can you hear me? JP courts do handle civil and criminal cases. We're the only court that does both. For civil, their biggest case that affects a lot of the community is evictions. And evictions, unfortunately, are on the rise. The eviction laws just changed January 1st. So just last month, I've held at least already 3 forums to tell the community what those updates are for both landlords and tenants, because it can be very confusing. And so when people come to court and they're like, well, what happened? It's like, well, you filed it a week after the new law, so now new laws apply. So it's very important to get out the community and tell them about those updates. I've already held 3 forums. I will continue to hold more forums. The other thing too is, again, partnerships. For criminal cases, I've partnered with the Financial Health Pathways organization, where defendants can take a 1-hour class about financial education and the consequences of entering the criminal justice system. You take the class, you get your case dismissed. It's a way to make sure that we're not just taking people's money for traffic tickets and other Class C offenses.
All right, now, questions from the audience?
Hello. Okay, well, I have a question concerning dismissals, because your court has a lot of dismissals. And the issue is, if you have a lot of dismissals, the city is just making money off of the citizen. So how is it that you can dismiss a case and how is it, well, the point is, if you're gonna dismiss a case, how is it that you're gonna make it where the citizen is not just losing money? Because like I said, dismissing cases is allowing the city to make money. So that's the question.
Of how we're going to...
How are you gonna make it where you're not just dismissing cases? How is it where y'all won't be just dismissing cases? Because when you're dismissing cases, the city is making money. And when you come and file a motion or whatever, you're getting more and more money. But when y'all dismiss the case at the end, that's not fair for the citizen. So how are you going to make it where you don't do that?
Okay, so regarding dismissals, I think it was mentioned in one of the other panels, I have to follow the law. And so I have to move cases, and after a certain time frame, if it's not happening, I have a dismissal docket, and if unfortunately nothing is going to move forward, I have to dismiss it. That's what the law says. That's great case management. The other thing too, if there's a motion to dismiss, I have to follow the law. And so the law says that I clearly must dismiss for a certain reason. Again, it's not because I just want to dismiss and take your money. That is what the law requires. And again, that's not something, again, that I obviously enjoy doing, but as a judge, I have to be fair, I have to be neutral, and I have to follow the law. And so that's what I'll do. If I feel like a potential litigant just doesn't understand a motion to dismiss, which means you'll dismiss their case entirely, or if they don't understand why their case is about to dismiss, I usually give a continuance. I'm going to give you 2 months to try and get assistance, legal assistance, talk to an attorney before I actually dismiss. I usually give also extra opportunities for people who don't have an attorney to figure it out before I dismiss completely.
All right, regarding dismissing cases, to answer this question, I would definitely, before dismissing cases, I would make sure I understand that looking over the paperwork before dismissing the case. Another thing, sometimes cases may be dismissed because of improper documents or information not done correctly. And so what's something I want to incorporate in the courtroom and for too is e-filing, making it more efficiency in case you have to, hey, this paperwork is not done right, you need to go back and do it, which is your case is dismissed. But we can speed up the process because sometimes in dismissing cases, it prolongs the time of you being in court. And so making sure remaining fair, understanding and going by the law, we have to, abide by the law. I keep running out of time. Okay.
Questions from the audience? Okay. All right. Next question. You have this is for traffic fines. You have an individual before you that received a speeding ticket. They were just going 12 miles over. Fine is $300. But they're a single mom working 2 jobs, and they're saying that's going to take their grocery money. From your experience, how do you understand the difference between someone who can't pay versus someone who won't pay?
Well, first, having the spirit of discernment. Having the spirit of discernment and also being fair and compassionate. I am a mother myself, and so I know how it is to be on a budget, but I also understand responsibilities and taking actions for something that I've done against the law. And so maybe putting in some type, looking at the paperwork and making sure maybe we can set up some type of payment plan option for that mother in regards of if she can't pay the full bill, and setting up a payment plan, simple as that. So a payment plan and maybe doing some type of community service to help within dealing with that traffic ticket.
So there are a couple of ways that I talk to defendants about whether they can pay their fines. And so first of it, they tell me that there's a financial issue. They have the ability to fill out a form. It's called a Statement of Inability to Pay. And that goes into detail about how much they make, how much they have to pay for rent, how much they pay for groceries. It's a 2-page form. And it also shows if they are on any sort of government benefits like SNAP or something like that. And so if I do see that they're on government benefits, I will automatically waive their fine. To me, if the federal government has decided that they are below the poverty levels, they should not be paying this fine, and so I can waive all the costs. Also, time served. I can give time served to people, even if it was for not, the laws recently changed about 3 years ago that I can give people the opportunity. You went and spent some time in jail, I can give you jail credit for that and waive the cost that way. I do also offer payment plans. I also offer community service. There's multiple ways that I work with defendants to try to get this resolved, because I'm not trying to get your money.
Question from the audience? Okay. It's me again. This position requires someone who can handle high volume, diverse case types, and serve a varied community with fairness and efficiency. What specific experience, skills, or perspective do you bring that makes you the best choice for this court?
So one of the things that I think is unique for JP courts is we don't have to follow rules of evidence, and we have different rules of civil procedure that apply to our courts. And so that being said, I speak Spanish. We have a very large Latino population in my precinct. So I can just talk in Spanish without an official court translator for hearings such as evictions where they didn't have time to get a translator. You can't really have a family or friend come in, but I also have the most diverse zip code in my precinct. So I do have, last week I had someone from Somalia and Bengali, and so being able to be open to whatever language or resources they need, but speaking Spanish makes a really big difference for a very diverse community. And then we also pay for official court translators when it's jury trials and bench trials. So that is a way for us to make sure we're there for and open to the needs of our diverse community in that sense. And so I think that's what makes me unique as well, is that I just have the ability to communicate many times without the use of a translator.
What would make me unique and different about bringing to this JP Court is I have a heart, I have a compassion, I have a heart for our community. I'm accessible. Let me back up. What was your question again? Was that the correct question? Okay. Accessible to the community, having the personal experience from working in the community, from doing food drives, from giving back to toy drives, working in education, dealing with our kids heads on, and one of our JP judge right there at the high school, dealing with evictions, from having the experience from being on that side, from being the landlord to now being the tenant and then being the landlord. So I have that type of experience from being on that bench. I will bring that. I'm reliable. I'm relatable. Let me say that. Relatable to the community and bringing fairness, bringing justice.
All right. Time flies when we're having fun. And so now as we prepare for our 2-minute closing, I just want to remind you that you can go tomorrow to DallasExaminer.com and look at tonight's forum. In addition, everyone make sure that they got a ticket, received a ticket when they came in. You want to make sure that you got yours. A very special announcement at the end of tonight's forum if you have your ticket. So make sure that you have your ticket. And with that, we'll begin with our 2-minute closing.
Daria Jacobs, asking you for your vote as I run for Justice of the Peace, Precinct 4, Place 2. As mentioned, I have a heart to serve our community, being accessible, showing up to work. Dallas County pays JP judges full-time tax dollars, and it is cheating you not to show up to work. According to Dallas County Office Courts of Administration data, this is ranked number 9 as the lowest proactive courtroom, meaning also according to public information data, this is also, this docket does not start, the cases does not start until after 1 o'clock. I will be accessible to be your JP judge, full-time morning and afternoons. I will continue the night court, but not only continue the night court, but I will provide Zooms for those who cannot drive from Carrollton and Capel and be able to to tune in and do their cases via Zoom. It's not right to have our after night courts and only 2 people show up. That's wasting our tax dollars. I will provide a kiosk in front of our courtroom for those who are not available, who do not have devices to fill out their paperwork, who cannot do it on paperwork, and to make it more efficiency and more convenient for them. I will provide community seminars. You won't see me in the next 4 years asking for your vote, but you will see me in different sessions keeping you updated of what's going on in that courtroom so that you will know that who your JP judge is. Justice of the Peace, Daria Jacobs. Okay, and you can look for me, Daria Jacobs, vote Daria Jacobs at g.com. Vote Daria Jacobs at .com. I'm all nervous, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Again, I'm Judge Sasha Moreno. I would love your support to run for re-election. I feel like I've been fair, efficient, and I've been out in the community trying to make sure that we are working with the community to make sure that justice is served. I didn't mention earlier, I have the lowest eviction rate in all of Dallas County. This is based on the 2025 Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center, and the reason is that I'm fair. And the founder of the Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center actually endorsed me and said specifically, Judge Moreno, and this is his quote, Judge Moreno is the best JP in the state, no slight intended to the other judges. If you want to see an example of what a just court looks like, this is a prime example. And I say that not to like toot my own horn, because I promise to be fair and efficient. Again, lowest eviction rate in all of Dallas County. I have a night court. I'm the only one who has a night court available. We are open from 8 a.m. to 4:30. We are accessible at all times. We have court hearings at all times. And so in terms of also efficiency, when I first took over this court in 2019, we had 216 negative findings in our audits. That's how bad the court was when I took over. Last year in my audit, I had 0 negative findings. I have also rated, my court is rated outstanding out of the JPs. There's 1 of 3 rated outstanding in having the lowest amount of clerks, so I have the smallest staff, but we have been rated also the best in using the court management system or case management system. And so we are doing our job, we are working, we are pushing cases. I would love your support for re-election, because I think that together we can really continue to make a difference, because I feel like I have, and I want to continue making a difference with you all. Again, Judge Sasha Moreno, you can go to my website, judgesashamoreno.com, and I look forward to seeing you at the polls. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up, let's have some more Justice of the Peace. Justice of the Peace, Precinct 5, Place 1, Sarah Martinez, Nancy Thompson.
My name is Ruben Leo Griffin. I humbly serve as the president of the Dallas-Fort Worth Urban League Young Professionals. And we're excited to partner tonight with our Young Professional Solidarity Night with Monday Night Politics. By showing of hands, if you are 40 and under, can you slip your hand in the air? Come on, can you clap it up tonight for all of the young professionals in the building tonight? We have to be very strategic, because we know this movement does not belong to one generation, it belongs to all of us. So we're excited that everyone is here tonight to be informed and to engage with our elected officials. What we want to do really quickly, because we know the debate has some more races to cover tonight. If you go ahead and find your raffle ticket, tonight we're raffling off a few things. And if one of my team members can bring me one of our t-shirts, we're going to give a Good Trouble t-shirt to some of our attendees today. This is our official chapter t-shirt. They are available for $20 tonight only, as well as we'll be raffling off some memberships to our illustrious organization. I will also be remiss if I did not let you know tonight that the 93rd affiliate of the Dallas-Fort Worth Urban League is back in the Dallas Metroplex, and on March 9th at 5 p.m. at Gillies, there will be our official launch featuring our keynote speaker, the National President and CEO, Mark Boreal. So here's our Good Trouble shirt, and we will see who the lucky winner is. Should I give one away or two? Shout out to the Deuces. All right. 559-7551. 559-7551. We have a winner? Yes, we have a winner. All right, you can collect yours at the table there, right there to your left. And if there are any young professionals who want to join tonight, our annual membership is $75 for the year, but tonight we're giving a discount of $50 for the entire year. So if you want to become a member, we focus on volunteerism, community engagement, professional development, and economic empowerment. So please come be a part of our tribe. Our next raffle ticket is 559-7562. So close. Going once, going twice. The last 4 digits, 559-7562. That's you. All right. Cool. All right. All right. And this last one, I'll actually give 2 more. I'll give a free membership away. So let's say you win this ticket and you're not under 40. Can you be a blessing to a niece or a nephew or a grandbaby? You know what I'm saying? We gotta pass the torch. All right, pay it forward. Here we go. 559-7566. All right, cool, brother. All right, that's a free membership. We'll get you taken care of at the table. Again, you can purchase a t-shirt at the table as well as a membership for $50. We're gonna give out one more Good Trouble t-shirt. It's 559-7573. All right, right there. So we got another Good Trouble t-shirt right there. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Ms. Bell. We appreciate you for all the work you do in the Dallas area.
All right, so with that, we'll begin with our 2-minute open.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sara Martinez. I am your current Justice of the Peace for Precinct 5, Place 1. I've been serving now for 12 years and am seeking my 4th term. Precinct 5 covers the areas of Farmers Branch, traveling south on 35 to include Northwest Dallas, Love Field, the Design District, Oakland Cedar Springs, West Dallas, Oak Cliff, Kessler, Hollywood, Santa Monica, traveling east on 30 to include Dolphin Heights, Buckner Terrace, where I reside, and Pleasant Grove. When I first ran for office 13 years ago, I pledged to provide a court that was accessible, professional, and effective. I'm proud to report that we have accomplished those goals by having a well-trained and diverse staff that is reflective of the precinct, education in the community to provide people information on what the court does and the services that we provide, and by being a judge that is present on the bench so that the work that is necessary to run an effective and efficient court happens. Now, I believe that my philosophy has been to always do better. Access to the justice system is a cornerstone of our democracy. As a former public defender and as an attorney, I don't take that responsibility lightly. As a daughter of undocumented farm workers, I saw every day how the system does not work for the most marginalized people. So I said that if I ever got the opportunity to serve, that I would do so with respect, dignity, and transparency, because we all deserve that. I look forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
You're pretty good because you answered a couple of my questions, so I'm going to dig deep. All right. How should a justice of the peace build trust with residents who may only come to court once in their life?
You have to be out in the community. I have walked every single area of Precinct 5. I know my community. If I go to West Dallas, I know what the issues are. If I go to Oak Cliff, I know what the issues are. If I go to the Person Hollow area, I know what the issues are. If I go to Pleasant Grove, I know what the issues are. Leadership is not about what you post online or the pictures that you take. It's work that you do every single day to remain accessible and accountable to the people that you serve. Since my very first election, I have put my personal cell phone number in every piece of literature that I have handed out. It is not my Google number, it is my actual cell phone number to the phone that I carry every single day.
Right. Southern Dallas County includes diverse communities with residents who speak different languages and come from various cultural backgrounds. How do you ensure language barriers don't prevent people from understanding procedures or exercising their rights? What does cultural competence mean to you in your courtroom?
To me, cultural competence is being aware of the systems of power that have traditionally marginalized Black and brown people and people that are living in poverty. As a person growing up in a migrant farmer family, I experienced those things. We went to a public office where they wouldn't serve my parents because my parents didn't speak any English, because they couldn't write in English. And those experiences shaped me, and I told myself that no matter what I did, that I was going to always provide access to people. I also speak fluent Spanish, and I've had entire hearings entirely in Spanish. And if someone does not understand, whether it's language, whether it's sign language or anything like that, I will certainly reset a case and make sure that we have those services available. The buck stops and it stops with me.
Technology has changed, has transformed most of government, but many courts still operate like it's 1995. Paper filing, in-person appearances, no text reminders. What technology or procedural changes would you champion, or do you champion, to make your court more accessible?
Of course, we allow everyone to participate via Zoom if they need to. I understand that sometimes people don't have childcare, they don't have transportation. The only way they can appear would be by phone or maybe by Zoom. So we definitely have that available. Of course, we have e-filing, but we also have people that are not computer literate, and we can have the ability to have them come into the court and fill out those documents in person.
All right. We've heard talked about lots of times when we talk about evictions, that they're hitting our communities hard. What powers does a JP have in specifically addressing this crisis, and what services or what programs do you offer to assist those residents, both landlord and tenants?
Well, of course, like every JP court in Dallas County, we do have the Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center on site. I have provided them a dedicated office so that they have the ability to talk to all of the defendants that would like to have an attorney. JP 51 typically sees about 50 evictions a day, so I know that we need the time and the space to allow litigants to be able to speak to an attorney, as evictions are going to happen. But we also think about, what do we do after the eviction happens? I make sure that every person that leaves the court has a resource list of resources that they can contact, whether they need utility payments, rental assistance, healthcare, all of those things.
Now time for questions from the audience.
Okay. Well, my question is pretty much the same thing that I asked the other two candidates.
About the dismissals?
Okay. How is it? It's concerning dismissals. In your courtroom, when y'all doing these dismissals, are y'all aware that y'all taking the citizens' money? So what can you do to make it where you just don't do that?
Well, sometimes dismissals do need to happen. While I'm well aware that every person has to pay a filing fee, unless they have an affidavit of inability to pay, I understand that there's a cost to every case that gets filed. But if the case is not being moved along, judicial efficiency requires that we dismiss the case once we give someone notice, right? If your case is up for dismissal, we're going to give you notice so you can come in and you can tell me, hey, judge, I haven't been able to serve this person. Can I have additional time to find another address? If you're making active steps to move your case forward, I'm not going to dismiss it. I'm going to give you the opportunity to present your case, because as I said earlier, access to justice is a cornerstone of our democracy, and I feel that everyone should have the ability to file a case and have a little bit of grace in trying to make that case come to fruition. Okay.
Okay, when you do that and you bring in the additional information, how is it that y'all are allowed to dismiss cases?
If someone brings additional information to move their case forward, I'm not going to dismiss the case. But if I send you notice and I'm letting you know that I'm going to dismiss your case for a variety of reasons and you don't show up, it's going to get dismissed. Dismissals will happen because judicial efficiency requires me to do so. The law requires me to do so. I can't have cases that are not being moved forward.
Another thing, when they go to court, are you allowed to let one litigant be in court and the other one be in Zoom? On what grounds is it allowed for Dallas County to allow one person to be in court and one to be in Zoom?
I can't speak for Dallas County, but in my court, if a person sends in a timely request and tells me, Judge, I can't be in court because I have childcare obligations, because I just started a new job and I'm going to get fired if I don't show up, then I will allow someone to have a virtual or telephonic appearance.
Is it on? Okay. How you doing? My name is Nick Rios. I'm just kind of curious, what were some major accomplishments from your previous term? And how do you, I guess, see that evolving moving forward?
The biggest accomplishment I can note is our efficiency in recording and moving cases, as well as inputting cases. We had our most recent audit, we only revealed one error. I've disposed of over 25,300 cases in the last 3 years. And being able to have an audit that reflects great workmanship is something that I'm very proud of.
What is one misconception about JP Court that you want to correct for voters?
Most people think that JP Court does traffic tickets, evictions, and weddings. They are not aware of the plethora of law that you have to understand in order to be an effective JP. In addition to small claims, we also hear debt claims, evictions, Class C misdemeanors, which is your standard citation. We also hear dangerous dog hearings. We also hear handgun license appeal hearings. We also hear writs of restoration, writs of sequestration, writs of retrieval, and a variety of other cases as well.
Questions from the audience?
My question is this: what is the salary for JP judges?
I think it's 143,000. 143,000?
Other questions? Goes any quicker when you're by yourself. So with that, as you formulate your 2-minute closing, again, remember you can get a copy or see tonight's forum, DallasExaminer.com tomorrow, where you'll be able to look at not only tonight's but the previous nights. And again, we thank you and we give you your 2-minute closing.
Thank you all for your time and your attention. I appreciate it. My name is Sara Martinez. I am your Justice of the Peace for Precinct 5, Place 1, and I am seeking my 4th term. I have delivered on the pledges that I made. I run a court that is efficient, effective, compassionate, and professional, and that also follows the law. And I will never shy away from the commitment that I'm making to you today as well. I am accessible to you and able to answer any questions, and I hope to continue to serve and to continue earning your trust as your Justice of the Peace for Precinct 5, Place 1. Thank you. My website is saramartinezforjp.com. I'm also on social media, Facebook and Instagram.
Thank you. All right. As if that wasn't enough, JP, for you, we have more. Our final race tonight, Justice of the Peace, Precinct 5, Place 2. Richard Lozano, Omar Narvaez, Marco Soto, and Andre Turner, in that order. Richard, Omar, Marco, and Andre. So I got 3. Okay. Begin with your 2-minute opening.
Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you so much, everybody. And thank you to our moderator, the Honorable Eric Wilson. I also want to thank Ms. Molly and the Dallas Examiner for putting this on every election for as long as I can remember. And this is a very important venue because you get to know the candidates. So I'm running for Justice of the Peace. You all may remember me. I was on the Dallas City Council where I served for 8 years. And I made my promises and I kept them and I delivered results, not just for District 6, but also for the entire city of Dallas. My community members, leaders, elected officials approached me when Judge Juan Hasso announced that he was not going to seek another term after 32 years in office. And they said, you are our champion for justice, our champion at Dallas City Hall, and we want you to now be our champion for justice in the JP Court, just like Judge Juan Hasso. That's a really big compliment, because those are some big shoes to fill. What I will tell you is that my promise has been very simple as I've been campaigning, is to deliver fair, efficient, and effective justice with compassion. That is this court is where real life meets the justice system. I've lived real life. I understand the law from my 8 years on the city council and having worked for a national law firm called Lambda Legal. And this is where everything great can happen or things awful can happen to an individual. This is the busiest court system in the entire state of Texas. The chances of you going to any court is pretty slim, but to land in JP, it's the largest. And you want to have somebody who's going to treat you with dignity and respect and make sure that you get justice when you're there that also has respect for the law. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Marco Soto. Many of you have never seen me, so let me start at the beginning and introduce myself. I am the son of a Mexican immigrant from the state of Durango, Mexico. My mother was a civil servant with the federal government for 38 years. I am a product of being reared and raised in Oak Cliff and Pleasant Grove. I'm a public school kid, DISD born and bred. I went to school at Townview, Magnet Center, Science Engineering Magnet, and Hillcrest High School. I give you that background because my parents instilled a sense of community and discipline. My first house was a duplex on Center Street, right behind Jefferson and Oak Cliff. And if you're familiar with the area, it's a lower socioeconomic. It was back in the 90s when I was a baby. It is still to this day, but you see a flourishing community. There were times when money didn't go far, and without the owners of Jerry's, I would have gone hungry, wouldn't have had diapers, wouldn't have had milk or formula. Community is what kept me alive. And that's kind of what I want to do here. The reason that I'm doing this is because God has sent me on this path. I studied political science as an undergraduate and went on to Texas Southern University, Thurgood Marshall School of Law, where I got my law degree. And I'm a licensed attorney. I started off in personal injury as a way to help my community, and now I do commercial litigation as a way to continue to help my community. When this opportunity came a year ago, if y'all would have told me, you're going to be running for judge, I would have said, absolutely not, no way. But life has an organic way of bringing you to a challenge. When I was in law school, we had a motto, protect it, improve it, and pass it on. And this is my way of protecting my community, improving the deficiencies, and then passing it on when my time is up. My name again is Marco Soto. Thanks very much for having me.
Good evening. My name is Andre Turner. First, I want to say thank you, Molly, because 19 years ago, I filed for join the Monday Night Politics, and we've been going strong ever since. Thank you, Eric Wilson, for the work that you do, and all the other people, Christy, for you keeping order. My name is Andre Turner. I am a retired probation officer. I worked in the court system, Dallas County court system, for 28 years. When I first got to the court, Dallas County was a red county. I helped change this county. At that time, I ran for my first office. I didn't get it, but it has slowed me down. As a court officer, working in the courts, it's a special probation officer because they have satellite officers in the field and then they have court officers in the court where you're working with judges, where you're working with prosecutors, you're working with public defenders and defendants. And your job is to make sure you keep things running smoothly and help the judge that you're working for. I work with felony cases and misdemeanor cases. Misdemeanor cases is like a JP court. It had volume. And the object of the game is to move your docket effectively and fairly because you don't want your docket clogged up. You have your docket clogged up, that's how the court get backlogged. My name is Andre Turner again. I am a teacher at Townview Law Magnet, where I'm teaching criminal justice, law enforcement too, and correctional services. So once I retired, they said, come over here and we have a job for you. For 20 years, I mentored kids from Townview Law Magnet in the court system. I had 10 students a year. These students are now lawyers, trying to be a judge, but they're lawyers and they're doing well for themselves. And so my job is, again, as a mentor, I mentor kids who are not even mine and help them get in college. That's my goal and that's my passion. I'm a father. Got that goal.
Mr. Soto. You're up. This question is for our three candidates. Each of you has handled difficult professional situations. Tell us about one specific time when you had to make a decision that affected someone's housing, maybe livelihood or well-being. This could be from your legal practice, your business, your community service, or your work. Briefly tell us what was at stake and what did that experience teach you about fairness and justice?
Sure. I have the fortunate ability to say that I am both an attorney for the landlord sometimes and an attorney for the tenant sometimes. So my law firm handles commercial cases, but sometimes we handle residential. A recent case was out of Roxton, Texas, where a client hired us to represent her mentally disabled brother. He owned a residential property, it was actually hers, and she found out that there were some tenants staying with her brother that were not welcome. What ended up happening was a family of 6 moved in and were taking advantage of a mentally challenged man. They started running an illegal puppy mill, and after we found this out, the house was not fit for human habitation. Right here, it seems cruel to kick people out, but you have to look at the details and the facts. Here, justice was served when we served notice on these people and warned them that if they did not leave or vacate, they would be sued and they would have to answer to the courts. So I hope that answers that question.
Each of you has handled difficult professional situations. Tell us about one specific time when you had to make a decision that affected someone's housing, maybe livelihood or well-being. This could be from your legal practice, your business, your community service, or your work. What was at stake, and what did you learn, or what did that experience teach you about fairness and justice?
As a probation officer, I worked with high-risk offenders, and we had one particular case where this guy had just got back into his kids' life. He had 4 kids, and he was trying to, stay in their lives and patch up the relationship with his ex-wife. And he came to me and he said, I'm getting ready to get put out of my house. And he said, and the only way I know how to get the money is I'm getting ready to go back out there and sell some more drugs. Now, he's been doing good because he was all getting ready to graduate, and so from the program. And so my job was to help find some resources. And I called over there to my friend Thomas Jones, and he said, we have some money to help this man get back on his feet because we don't want him to lose contact with those kids. Because if we lose contact with those kids, we're going to have a bigger problem. So that was something that touched me and made me kind of go further because we're not enforcing the law. We're doing rehabilitation.
Thank you.
I had a little extra time to think about this one, so thank you for having me last on it. But the one time that I was trying to think, I've dealt with so many difficult decisions, having served on the Dallas City Council for the last 8 years. But the one that sticks out the most to me is when we had a gas explosion in Northwest Dallas, right north of Bachman, just south of Midway Hollow, and a little girl was killed. And I had to make a lot of difficult decisions for several months, whether people were going to have hot water, and we had to make the decision to tell folks, you're not gonna have hot water for over a month because we have to shut all the gas down. But at the same time, it was good for the community because all the pipes were gonna be replaced. There were other situations where folks weren't going to have money, and I had to fight really hard, having no power over Atlas, because the city council does not oversee them. But I was able to fight hard for them and get them a daily stipend every month so that they could continue to survive over that time period.
Thank you. Mr. Turner. If elected, what would be your first concrete action that you would take to improve how this court serves Southern Dallas, and how would the residents, voters, notice the difference?
One thing I would do, like I said, I believe in diversion programs, and definitely JP Court has a lot of volume, and you need to have set some order to the point, because you'll have dual dockets, and I'm looking for, like I said, you have to prioritize. You have your eviction dockets, then you have your traffic ticket dockets. You know, and you need to kind of set some times where you can do that, because in order to run your court effectively and efficiently, you have to have some order. If you don't have order, it's not going to move and run efficiently, and you'll have your backed up, backlog dockets. And so definitely, I believe in tapping into resources. As a probation officer, judge always charged me to come find some options, and you have to find options. There's solutions to every problem. And so I was always a solutionary person and trying to make sure that the defendant, the attorney, the prosecutor came out as a winner.
Thank you. Navarro.
Thank you so much. I'm going to go with, if the question was about what we're going to do to change and make sure South Dallas understands what's going to happen.
You want to read it?
No, I just want to make sure I got it right. Okay, so what I want to do is make sure that I want to meet people where they are, because that's how you get folks to understand, to trust you, to understand what's happening. And so I want to take these resources that are available, and I have a unique perspective on it because of my time on the council. I can call just about anybody really quick on any issue in order to get that help that they may need, or connect them to the person that they may need. That's like the Eviction Advocacy Center. That's one huge thing. We heard about it earlier from several people. I want to bring it into the court, but I also want to take it out to the community so people understand what their rights are ahead of time. And also, I want to make sure the landlords understand, because a lot of the mistakes that happen are with the landlords as well. And I'm very honored that Mark Melton, who's the founder of that center, endorsed me the other day. And that was a huge, huge compliment to me based on what he knows that I can do for and with the community. Thank you.
So you asked for one, I'll give you three. The very first thing that needs to happen in JP 5.2 is implementing a system of e-filing. JP 5.2 is the only court in all of Dallas County that still uses snail mail and paper. That does a huge disservice. Justice delayed is justice denied, especially when there's statutory frameworks and deadlines in place. One, implement e-filing. Two, implement a night court. As you heard earlier, Judge Sasha Moreno has a standing night court. That needs to happen. You shouldn't choose between going to work and earning a wage or coming to court. If you're dependent on your job, you need to decide, do I go to work or do I go to court? So that's the second thing. You got to have it accessible. And that dovetails perfectly into the last point, accessibility. You heard about the Dallas Eviction Advocacy Center. I'd make sure they had a permanent office in this courtroom. Also pro bono legal services. Those are three easy things that can be done right now that are tangible and that voters and that residents of these communities will see right away. Simple.
Okay. And we'll just go over. Yes. Southern Dallas has some of the highest eviction rates in the country. Some say that it's an enforcement problem. Others say it's a poverty and housing crisis that courts can't solve alone. What is your diagnosis of what's actually broken from the tenant and the landlord side?
What's broken is our wages haven't caught up and going up to catch up to the rent. And I'm a renter. I was one of the only renters on the Dallas City Council, and there was a big weight to make sure that I fought for every renter in the city. And we implemented good policy at the city level, but we need the rest of the cities to do that, like Farmers Branch and Cockrell Hill, that are also inside of Precinct 5. I've got what we've done, and I know what can happen. And I want to also make sure that people know that Representative Benton Jones, he pushed for a bill that would automatically allow for tenants who are going to be evicted that they get legal help, just like if you got arrested. However, it passed the House, it failed in the Senate. And so if Representative Jones files it again, and I'm allowed to, I will be down in Austin advocating for that while we're also doing the job. The brokenness of it is the wages. It's also making sure that folks understand and know their rights. And that's why I want to make sure I go out into the community and make sure I help them with that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What's broken is a lack of understanding. Most people are working day to day. They don't have time to check out the nuances of the way the law is changing. As you heard earlier in this forum, there have been chapter updates to chapter 24. That's going to hurt a lot of people. The legislature down in Austin has made it easier to now dispose of cases and to move cases along, clear these dockets. So educating the public, going out there and being accessible is going to be huge. Justices of the peace are uniquely situated to actually engage with the community in a way other judges cannot. So by holding forums, holding knowledge-based education seminars, something to benefit a tangential way for the community is going to be immediately beneficial. But the brokenness is actually something way bigger than us. You have the competing interests of rising property costs, and you have a great number of people that can't even afford a home. Renters are being affected because of market forces outside of their control. The brokenness starts in Washington and Austin.
When you talk about brokenness, a lot of times it stems towards back to we need to educate the citizens as they come into a JP court on the laws of the eviction. Again, I always believe in education to the point that we need to have some advocates, like I said, the eviction advocate up in there, and have some free tutorial training, educating the individuals on what are their rights, what are the laws, because a lot of times people don't know. And when you go into a court and you want to do something pro se, and you don't even know that you're getting ready to be set up for failure, that, you know, it's not right to the citizens because you're dealing with poverty, law enforcement and poverty. And at the end of the day, we still have to do the law, conduct the law the way it needs to be conducted, but still understand, have a little compassion, because we definitely need to educate. A lot of people come into court and scared to death because they don't even know what's happening. They don't know.
Thank you. All right, now we have questions from the audience. Time for questions from the audience.
I'm back about these questions concerning dismissals, because the citizens are losing money when y'all are dismissing cases. And I understand they just did this bill to hurry up and dismiss cases. When you dismiss cases, they don't go to trial. So you can't present your evidence. So if you can't present your evidence with a dismissal, you just lose money. So it's like getting a traffic ticket. You drive down the street, get a traffic ticket, and then you go to court and they say, hey, you gotta pay $300. They just want the $300. I don't understand that. Dismissals is not making any sense anymore, because the purpose of you filing a lawsuit is to get it in trial so you can show your evidence to the judge and you go from there. So how are you gonna stop that, dismissing these cases? We're losing money.
So if elected, judges have their own framework and their own rules of ethics, but they also have to follow the law. Statutorily speaking, that means it's written in the law. They have to charge you a fee to file your case. If you are not doing everything that you need to do to prosecute your case, the judge has no choice but to put it on a dismissal docket. That doesn't mean that it will be automatically dismissed. It means that you need to follow all steps to move your case forward. They used to tell us in law school, there are elements to a crime, and if you don't meet all those elements, I don't know what it is, but it's not that thing. So if the onus is on you, take personal responsibility. Look up the code, make sure that you did everything so that your case doesn't get dismissed. You're right. If you file your case and it gets dismissed, you just wasted your money. But take ownership, take accountability. If you really want something to happen, you're gonna make sure to dot those I's and cross those T's. That's the best way I can tell you.
Working in a misdemeanor court, sometimes the prosecutors was just, their back was against the wall. They had no other choice because it was the law. You heard two of the judges mention today that they definitely have a dismissal docket, but if they have been served, you serve the individuals and you're giving them ample amount of time, you have no choice because it's the law to dismiss that case. If you don't say, like you said, if someone comes up there, and a lot of judges kind of pass it and give you a couple of months to get your affairs in order, but at the end of the day, you can't bump heads with the law. If it's cause for this case to be dismissed, you need to dismiss it because you have to move your docket effectively and fairly.
Thank you. And what a lot of what they said as well, but I want to go further and say, yeah, the onus is on the person who filed and to do everything that you need to do, but I want to make sure that we have access to help, to make sure that when you do file, that you have somebody who can help you, that you can go to them. And that's why I've started to prepare a list of resources, many of which I got, I've already had, having helped my aunt. She was a landlord, and back when I was a little kid in Houston, and I learned a lot about the evictions and what happens to people when they aren't able to pay. And Ms. Linda, and I'll tell you as well that it's so important that by knowing our community, knowing who the people are, that we can make sure that they get the justice that they need and the access. Now, once you're a judge, I can't help somebody who files a case. You got to do that stuff beforehand or make sure that, but if you know those resources are available inside of the government building, then you're going to have a lot more better time than having those cases dismissed. We don't want you wasting your money. We want you to get justice.
So I'm kind of curious because somebody mentioned a point on how justice dispositions in particular is you have direct access to the community and helping them. I want to dive a little bit deeper into the time you guys had to make a hard decision. So if you guys can kind of talk on that specific example on how you were able to, I guess, for the people receiving that hard decision, how did you guys kind of help and provide assistance for that population?
As it relates to JP court or just in general?
As it relates to, yes, JP.
I'm sure, well, I've never had that opportunity yet. I guess I'm a claimant. Okay, well, as a probation officer, I dealt with felony cases. We had to make some hard decisions whether we're going to send this person to, judge, I've had to file a motion to send this person to prison. I had to prepare the paperwork, and I didn't want to really do that, but the judge said, hey, you have to do it, and sometimes your back is against the wall. But I know already this person's young. He's 21 years old. He's just sentenced to 30 years in prison. So that was some of the hard things. Sometimes you're going to be faced with some tough decisions. As a JP court, I always want to look at resources and making sure that, we work with the poor people, because a lot of poor people are catching it right now. They just said rent is going up and evictions is going up also. And so we got to come up with some strategic plans on how we get these down with the eviction advocates. We bring someone in there, bring some other counselors from SMU, some of the law the law clinics around here to help these people know their rights and make sure they're not treated with the utmost respect and fairly.
So there's a lot of tough decisions. There's so many that I had to make. Probably the toughest was when I was at city council and I had to tell a business owner that lived literally across the street from where I live in the neighborhood right across Singleton, and had to say, we're putting you out of business. We're shutting you down. And to look at his family, he was a supporter, and it was what we had to do by law was to shut that down. Now, I did give every opportunity I could so that he could find a location to move his company, that he could make sure that he maybe had access to dollars that the city may have had to help him. Unfortunately, he didn't take any of those, and he did have help. I made sure he had help to get access to them. But it was really difficult to sit there and tell a small business, I'm a small business owner now, and to tell a small business owner, I'm sorry, but you're not going to be able to be here anymore. And after I had to move denial, then I got to have the opportunity to speak, but that was a very difficult decision, a very hard day.
So, when you're a commercial litigator and you've been given marching orders by your superiors that your duty is to evict this person because they're delinquent, that's your job. As an attorney, you have to zealously advocate. The law actually requires it. It's part of the rules. If you don't do it, you're actually committing malpractice. You can get in trouble. I had a case recently where I had to evict a tenant from a residential house not too far from here, Fair Park. My orders were to get them out of there. Gave notice, filed a lawsuit. So what am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to remove them. Those are my orders. But they were not represented by counsel at the time, and I picked up the phone, reached out directly to her, and I was like, I understand that you're behind on rent. I understand that you're in a bad spot. What do you need? I just asked her a question, what do you need? And then I was able to go back to my client and say, look, let's work something out, get her on a payment plan. So I had to balance the needs of my client with the needs of this individual.
I answered that. Okay. Oh, sorry.
Hi, I work with Opportunity Youth here in Dallas, so I support youth that are victims of trafficking, foster youth, and so forth. So I heard a lot about how we're going to be preventative, or what does that look like? I really want to understand how you plan to formalize those relationships with community organizations, because a lot of these young people, once they leave, it's like I'm either going back to mom and dad's house and they're about to get evicted, or I'm trying to leave this transitional housing and be independent. So how do we stop the cycle of them being possibly, I guess, pushed further and further where they're not going to be able to get out, because we know it's not the same going into the real world now with the same amount of money. So how do we really formalize those community relationships in order for us to prevent, the cycle of fees and evictions and high incarceration rates for our youth?
Yeah, the school to prison pipeline is real, and it's something that when you're listening to a case and you don't want that young person to have their life ruined when they're 18 years old, right? And what we can do is, what I want to do is have community fairs so that we have it at the court, on a Saturday or in the evening when it's closed, so that all the nonprofits can come, the churches can come, and get access to the community. It's your building, it's your court, so let's utilize it how we can. The other thing that we can do is make sure that different community partners meet each other. I did that in West Dallas. I brought all the nonprofits together because they were duplicating services. And we got them all together in a room. That was in 2017. Today in 2026, they still meet every single month to let each other know what they're doing. And thank you for the work that you do, because that's excellent work, but we need more of it. We need to make sure that they all partner together in order to layer everything with all the different levels of government, which I've done before at the federal, state, and local level, making sure all parties are at the table.
That's a challenging question because it's multifaceted, right? There is no one reason, there's no one cause. It almost looks like the world is against you sometimes. I know what I've done, and what I do is I do advocacy work to the Mexican American Bar Association. That's how I give back to my community. I'm constantly doing legal clinics and fairs that we do through that organization. I'm also a member of the Texas Trial Lawyers Association, and I give out pro bono legal services. That's how I give back to the adults and young people. Most recently, I was asked to put together a young men's forum at Adamson High School, and I'm working on doing that because sometimes representation and showing up makes all the difference. When I was a kid, I thought lawyers looked like Jim Adler and Brian Longcar. I didn't see anybody that looked like me. It wasn't until I was 14 that State Representative Rafael Anchia came to my school. First time I ever saw a Hispanic attorney, and I thought, oh my God, I can do this too. So by being present, by being an advocate, I think you can make a lot of change and break that cycle, because now they believe it.
As an educator, as a former probation officer, as an educator, I work with Honorable Judge Laquita Kelly, and she started a program which is called Intercepting. In this program, we would have, these are like a pre-diversion program, so these guys were still in high school, and they would have to come to the courts. We set it up like we worked to deal out with the counselors, and so to the point that we followed these individuals. We helped them with jobs. We had different programs in there. We had a lot of community advocates that touches like mentorship. We had some individuals to help you get your license. We had individuals to help you take care of your tickets. So it was like a melting pot. And our goal was to help these individuals succeed, get out of high school, graduate, and go to college. And we were successful with that. She's very passionate with it, and she's always open to share those connections also. But definitely, I'm very passionate on it when it comes down to young people. A little bit different with them.
So how important do you think having a background in law enforcement is, and how do you see that benefiting, I guess, you moving forward?
I think it's wildly invaluable. I got involved and invested in learning about government through my high school teacher, Jim Walter, and that led me to studying political science. Prior to being an attorney, I was a labor organizer. I worked for the American Federation of Teachers, so I'm very pro-union. I know what it's like when you're the little guy fighting and punching up. I had 12 cases in 2 years as a union organizer and didn't lose a single one, and that's what dovetailed to me being an attorney, because I sought to learn the mechanism that guides all of us, right? The Constitution is not just a thing, it's a supreme law. It actually guides everything. Every single day, you've got different laws that are affecting you. So as somebody that practices in JP courts every single day, I know that they serve an incredible function to get resolution quickly and to serve a screening function so that judicial economy remains moving. Because right now, if nothing's resolved at the JP level, it goes up to the county court level.
Repeat that question.
Yeah, so how important do you think having a background in law enforcement is, and how do you see that benefiting you?
Well, a lot of times, law enforcement, you get some bad breaks because people say, I don't trust the police, I don't trust the system. And, it can be hard work a little bit, but it's like a buy-in process too. You have to let them know, ensure that I am here for you. I hadn't always been a probation officer. I hadn't always been working in court. I've had my own setbacks, and you can identify it. I have nephews and nieces. Everybody has somebody who touched the law system. But you can use that platform to turn that around also. And I've got quite a bit of guys that we turned around. Fred Muse was a drug dealer, and was getting to lose everything he owned. He came to me, and I said, okay, I see more in you than you see in yourself. And I said, you could do better. He used that drugs abilities that he had selling drugs and got a big old drum in his car, and now he does detail work and makes quite a bit of money now, successfully.
So I think having a background with law enforcement is extremely important. Having a good relationship with them. I have a very close relationship with our constable, Michael Orozco, and I've worked hand in hand with him. When I was a council member, I called him up to do an anti-eviction Know Your Rights toolkit in order to let people see and understand what does the constable do and what does the court actually do. And we recorded it, y también lo hicimos en español, because it was very important that it was bilingual. And I'm bilingual, and I want to make sure that that access. So having those relationships, I have that relationship with the Dallas Police Department, and show the community so that and build trust. We were working really hard on that, and unfortunately, we know what the administration of the 38-time convicted felon that's currently in the White House has done, and what's happening in our streets. So we're gonna have to start building that trust again, because little kids shouldn't be running home, screaming and yelling, terrified, when they hear about a federal agent that might be in their neighborhood. So we just gotta work together to rebuild that trust and continue building trust.
Any other questions from the audience?
Yeah. With the attack on local control from the state level has been pushed down to the local level, that whoever prevails in this race is going to have to, of course, take up their office, learn everything, work with their constituents. But with the lack of local control, local control push from the state that's coming down, that's putting pressure on your office, whoever wins. Do you see yourself as being someone who will be active in trying to shape that policy at the state level when an opportunity arises, or do you just want to be a receptacle of what comes down? Do you want to be an active participant in trying to shape that policy?
If elected, I believe in partnership. I do not know one judge in this county who don't have an advisory council. You have to have a go-to person to figure out how this works. What's going to be the best course of action? Because are we going to just sit here like a lump on the log, or are we going to be about this business and make sure that this county, Dallas County, this precinct is not overlooked and run over? Definitely, I believe in always reaching out to some experts, like we have Sarah Martinez here. I've been knowing her for a while, almost like 14 years, and I know she's a great resource, and she's always accessible. She's a one-call person, so definitely I will use her strength also because she's a seasoned judge.
Thank you. So the issue of local control is definitely the state has been doing a lot to take away the local government's control. So that would be the county commissioners and the city councils. They just want to take over everything and make everything the same for everybody across the entire state of Texas. And sometimes that's a good thing to do. Many times it's a bad thing to do because not every single neighborhood is the same, and not every part of the state of Texas is the same. And so if allowed by, according to judicial ethics code, on that advocacy, I definitely would be there. When I worked at Lambda Legal, one of the things I was an advocacy agent for the organization in order to go fight and write laws, write amendments, work with legislators in order to advocate for a good policy or to stop bad policy from happening in the state of Texas. We were successful many, many times. Sometimes we weren't. But that's something that I have the background in, which is working with our legislators. That's where I've been able to help a lot of them out, get the right information, and of course working with the rest of our governmental officials.
I agree with you. Preemption is a huge issue, right? Preemption from the federal government, the state, and from the state down to the local level. But we've seen it right here in action, what happens when public officials unify. Just think back a few years ago, COVID-19 pandemic, the justices of the peace all united to create a moratorium, right? Those things right there matter because it shows you that there's power in numbers. So to answer your question succinctly, yes, I absolutely am going to be an advocate for change. You have to punch back at what's happening in Austin. I didn't get into this job or won't get into this job just to be a peon. You need somebody that's going to work for you guys. Thank you.
All right, my friends. Time flies when you're having fun, and you finally warm up and ask great questions. Thank you for the questions that you asked. I'm sure the candidates appreciate it as well as they're formatting their 2-minute closing. I want to again encourage you to go to DallasExaminer.com tomorrow. You can see tonight's forum and previous forums as well. And right after they give their final 2-minute closing, I think there's a representative from the Young Urban League will be up, I believe, for their raffle. So I understand. So, no, they've already done it? Oh, cool. Perfect. Thank you. Early voting. Okay, remember, with that, early voting begins tomorrow. Make sure that you check your voter registration status before you go. You may not be registered to vote. Please check your registration. All right? So with that, we'll begin with Mr. Navarez.
Thank you. Once again, thank you to the Honorable Eric Wilson for moderating and Ms. Molly and the Dallas Examiner. It has been my honor and privilege to be a servant to the citizens of the city of Dallas, and now it's time to have a champion for justice in the Dallas County JP 5-2 court. My name is Omar Narvaez. I have a background, I have a history of making promises, keeping them, and delivering results. I want to make sure that this court becomes more efficient, more access. I, just like Judge Sarah Martinez, put my cell phone number on every single piece of mail, literature, anything I print, my cell phone goes on it. I learned it from watching her. I hope to be her colleague and learn to run an efficient, accessible court just like her, and make sure that we go out into the community, make sure that everybody has that access like I talked about, because I've lived that real life. I was raised by a single mom, a mom who worked 3 and 4 jobs in order to keep food on the table and clothes on our back. She made it look easy. It was when I got much older that I realized it wasn't easy, but mom made sure that we were always taken care of. I don't know if my mom would have been able to make it in today's economy, in today's world, because of that access. So I will be able to be compassionate to the people who are in front of us in that court and make sure that I pay respect to the actual law. Because you can't just change it however you want to. You heard all those appeals judges, and that's not justice if you're giving people into appeals because you made rulings incorrectly. There is a way to work with folks using your discretion as a judge, making sure that you understand what is happening. And I've been an effective leader who listens and makes sure that both sides always get a fair shake. When I was a council member, I had so much experience doing that, because there's always 2 sides and you gotta decide what's gonna happen, right? As a council member, I've done it, I've lived it, and I will continue doing it for you as your champion for justice. Omar Narvaez, your candidate for Justice of Peace 5-2, Omar for Dallas, FOR.com. Thank you.
Thank you.
Many years ago, I ran for the Student Bar Association president at Thurgood Marshall School of Law, and I started my speech off this way, and I repeated this to the LULAC a week ago. I promise you guys absolutely nothing, and I'm going to say it again, I promise you nothing. Promises are easy to make, and they're even easier to break. And you have heard it time and time again from so many politicians. I promise this, the sun, moon, and stars. And when they don't do it, they've already let you down. I think that the failure here is that they're doing the wrong thing. At the end of the day, you can only pledge your industry, your effort, and your professional acumen to this role, and that's what I will pledge to you, should you entrust me with this position. I didn't get into this for money or title. I'm doing it just to give back. God gave me this path to be an attorney. I want to use these skills to give it back to my community that raised me. It's as simple as that. I don't ask for your vote. I ask for your consideration. Please look into me. And if I am your candidate, I welcome your support. Thank you very much. My name is Marco Soto, Justice of the Peace 5-2. You can go to marcosforjustice.com to learn a little bit more. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I want to also thank Molly Belt, the Dallas Examiner, the partnership, Eric Wilson for moderating this. This is something that For 28 years, I've worked in the law enforcement field. I worked where we had to make difference in people's lives. A JP court is the surge to a community. It's the people's court. And you want somebody there who knows how to move a docket effectively, efficiently, and fairly. And this goes on with my motto, that the faith, F, fairness, A, accessible, T, transparent, and the E, efficiency. And I'm not going to sit up here and promise anything, but I know I'm about the business of working. And my job is to help people move through, people helping people. This is a job where you can make impact in people's lives daily. And all my work has been the heart of the community. The passion has been working in the community. And when I'm elected, I'm going to claim it to existence. When I'm elected, I will be that people court person. I will be there. I'm a day one person. I'm not shy to work. I'm woke to work. And my job is to make sure that individual come through that door, walk out feeling, I got justice. Contact with me easy, Dre, D-R-E, the number 4, justice.com. Dre4justice.com.
All right. And thank you. And before they leave, I just want to reiterate, please vote early. Please vote early. You can vote anywhere early during early voting time, but on election day, you must go to your precinct if your precinct is still there. Please identify where your precinct is and avoid that by voting early. With that, I want to thank our candidates. Thank you for coming. Thank the audience for the great questions. Same time, same place next Monday. Have a great night. Be safe.